Hi, and welcome back. This is session 3 of the course on creating and marketing your own online course. I hope you've enjoyed the course thus far. And what we're going to do today is I'm going to share with you my step-by-step process for actually creating the course material, preparing it, because otherwise it can be very overwhelming. And I'm going to share with you some steps that hopefully make it more doable, easier for you, more enjoyable. That's my hope. And I'll also share with you how I approximately time the course. And we will end with some tech, just a little bit of tech training, at least to talk through what my tech systems are, and a few tips on how to be a better teacher, speaker, and then what the next steps are to finally implement the course. Some suggestions for you. All right, so as we get going, I want to encourage you to chat below the video. Those of you watching the replay can feel free. What I'd love to, and those who are live here, of course, chat. What I'd love to know is what's one important thing you've gained from the course thus far? Go ahead and chat that in. I'd love to know. And if you would also like to chat in, what is, if you have taught courses before, what's something that you find is really important? What's an important sort of principle or rule to keep in mind for yourself as you are teaching to make the course a higher value for the students, if you've ever taught before? So that I'd love for you to chat below as well. And while you are chatting, I'll just mention, or those watching the video comment below, and I'll just mention that you'll notice a couple of changes here. The background here is different. I'm wearing glasses. So a couple of changes. One, the reason is because I'm visiting my mom this week. It was sort of a last minute visit. She had an injury, so I'm kind of helping her out this week. It was planned after I had already scheduled the course. And so I'm here in her, teaching this in her bedroom, and this is the best place in the house to kind of set up. But even so, it's not optimal because you can see a sun stripe from the window. I try to close the shades, but there's still a sun stripe right on me here. And with the glasses, because I'm in Las Vegas, it's very dry here, so my contacts don't always feel comfortable. So I wanted to make sure that I didn't have to blink too much while I'm teaching. So that's why my glasses are on. So the reason why I share these is because one of the most important lessons I've learned in business is to show up no matter what, as promised, especially when the conditions are not optimal. Show up anyway. It would have been easy, of course, and I'm sure all of you would have understood if I sent an email saying, oh, had a family emergency, have to postpone the final session. And of course, people do that. And I'm not saying you should never do that, but whenever it's possible to practice the muscle of showing up, no matter what, even in this situation where it's not optimal for me, this is not my usual home office studio. If you promise somebody something, or promise a group of people particularly, do your best to show up on time, no matter what, imperfectly. And that's the key. Making mistakes, it's okay. I think hopefully as you follow my content and follow my courses, you'll learn that from me, is that if you are willing to make mistakes and show up no matter what, you're going to grow faster and grow in more ways than if you think that you have to get things right before you show up, right? So I hope that's helpful and interesting. And I want to just call out a couple of chats here. Thanks to those who are chatting. Amina wrote that, what she learned thus far, courses don't have to be complicated, just add value. Yes. And the secret of course teaching is that whatever you already know is already valuable to your students. Otherwise, they would not have signed up for the course. Whatever you already know, translated onto the sales page and then taught in the course, is already valuable for them. You don't have to do any additional research, none. The fact that they are your student means that they're already 2, 3, 5, 10 steps behind where you are. Or you should say you are, even if you're 2 or 3 steps ahead of them, what you can deliver is already valuable to them. And whatever you know that they already know, they need to be reminded of it. I'm sure there are things I've said in this course that you've already heard before, that you already know, but to be reminded of it is so valuable. Again, the things that are important. Don't do any more research. Just start teaching. Promise me that, okay? Yes, of course, you can do an hour of research, but put the timer on. This is, I will not do any more research. I already know enough. Repeat after me. I already know enough to teach what's valuable to your students, really. So, Tina, thank you, to do it even when I don't feel 100% ready, and she typed that before I started sharing about my current situation. So thanks for that. Carolyn wrote, I learned it's important to simplify the course, right? And to be able to give value without overwhelming the students with everything you know. And hopefully that's one thing you can learn from as a contrast to my actions and my resource guides, is overwhelming for sure. And that's because I think I've said it before. Because I already have an audience, because I can pretty much just whisper and get people to sign up, I can be kind of lazy in how I organize and structure the courses. So I can just dump everything I know and go on to the next course, because there's so much I want to teach. But if you don't already have a regular audience of students, you've got to make it more fun. You've got to make it more easy. You've got to make it less overwhelming than I'm doing it, because otherwise, I'll be honest with you, I lose students all the time. But I have a big enough audience where that doesn't matter as much to me. But honestly, several hundred students that I taught last year in my courses haven't come back. So I'll be honest with you, I mean, there are a few of you who have come back, and I thank you for that. But a lot of my students say, well, I guess he's already given me everything. So that's a danger of giving them. You think you're giving them everything, but what's happening is that they have the illusion, not that they've gotten everything, but truly what they've gotten is this bunch of stuff that they don't look at, right? What you would rather do as a teacher is to have them implement 2 or 3 things. That's it. 2 or 3 things in your entire course. Even if your course is $300, they implemented 2 or 3 things that actually made a difference for them. Wouldn't that be better than teaching them 30 things? Wouldn't it? It made a real difference in their life, right? Versus it filled up their brain and made them feel like, well, I bought something, and that something seemed valuable, but I didn't use it. It was just sitting there on my hard drive, or sitting there as a link in my email, right? And you all have had this experience too. You've bought things and it looked really valuable, but did you use it? I have $30,000 worth of online trainings and courses that I bought. Most of them they're on my shelf. I did look through some of them, and a lot of the marketing tactics were too spammy for me. So maybe that's part of the reason I put them away. But still, I'm sure there were some valuable things that I never used because they were too overwhelming. Teachers fall into this trap every day. Oh, I'm just going to give them so much to make. And part of it, I think marketers they feel guilty for charging $1,000 or $2,000 per course subconsciously. So they feel like they should just dump all the stuff to make people feel like, oh, well, then I'm not going to get a refund because look at all the stuff they sent me. So it's a really lifelong skill, a journey, an exercise for me anyway, and maybe for you as well, to learn how to simplify, to learn to be confident enough, and to be strong enough, to be willing enough to say, I'm going to just only teach 2 things. I'm going to only teach 3 things in this course. I'm going to make it as fun and as implementable as possible and see what happens. And I'm challenging myself to do the same. But so hopefully the next time I'm teaching this, it'll be 3 courses, not 1 course. This particular course will be 3 courses. Let's say here, Linda says one thing she's learned about teaching is to stay in control of the event. And I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that, Linda, so please say more. But certainly to know the technology well enough where you don't feel like you're flailing when you teach your course the first or second or third time. That's one of the things we'll talk about later, is to practice. And guess what? You can practice with each other. How many of you have put your information in the student directory, the course directory? I know a few of you have. Yes, thanks, Sarah. Raise your hand. I see you there. Yeah, so if you have, and I encourage all of you to put your information in the course directory if you would like some practice buddies, you know. Okay, thank you. Wonderful comments from Allison and Tamara, Sarah, and Paul, and Joselito, Fiona, Karen, Jean, Anita. So thank you all. And those who are watching the video without the benefit of the live comments underneath, be sure to look at the chat transcript, because there's some valuable nuggets and reminders here for how to teach well, and how to what's been important. Okay, so let's get going on the actual material for today's session here. So I want to start with the principles, and the principles are a reminder of what some of the things I've said. I've already talked about how whatever's valuable, whatever you teach is going to be valuable already. You don't need to learn more. You already know enough. 2 or 3 things, even if out of 3 things, one of them is a reminder, the second one is somewhat of a reminder, and the third thing is somewhat new to them, that's enough. If you make an impact on them and have them implement, they will remember you for that. They'll say, yes, that course was life-changing for me. I learned one thing from that course and it changed my life. One thing. So second principle is to think in versions rather than, I got to make the greatest course in the world and then I'm going to teach it. Okay. I think in versions all the time, even though this, believe it or not, this is like probably the 8th or 9th version that I've taught this. I've named it different things. I used to call this a webinar method. I used to call this how to make a living teaching what you love. That was back in like 2010 that I taught this. Now it's actually the course, I would say this version I kind of built from the ground up, to be honest with you. So I kind of feel like I'm teaching this again for the first time, but I've really taught it about 8 other times. But think in versions. Don't think this is going to be and look, this is the 9th time I'm teaching this. It's still kind of rough. I mean, you could probably tell. It's still kind of rough. And I know I have a long way to go. Maybe version 29 will be pretty damn good. And I hope you'll be back for that in 20 years. In 20 years, please come back and take this course again from me. It's going to be pretty damn good by then. So I'm thinking in terms of dozens of versions. I'm not thinking in terms of, my God, the first version's got to be pretty darn good, and the second version better be pretty near perfect, and third one better be perfect. No, I'm thinking 10, 20, 30 versions here. And I teach it once a year, so it's 3 decades, basically. I'm looking at this course. Now, I know some of you are like, God, I'm going to retire in 3 years. So yes, if that's the case, you need to teach your course 3 times a year, so that by the time you retire, you would have taught it 10 times, in 3 years. So promise me that you will launch as soon as possible. You already know enough. This is going to be version 1, the most imperfect version of all of your versions. But you don't really learn until you actually teach it. I promise you, the most valuable thing you're going to learn from teaching the course is the students' the students' questions and response and reactions to your course. You can't learn that by planning it out on your own document in your own head, even by talking to friends, until they actually buy and then give you questions and reactions where you go, oh my God, I didn't realize that this part was the most important part. I need to spend another 10 minutes on that part. Oh, nobody mentioned this at all in the feedback. Nobody mentioned this entire section that I thought was important. Maybe I should put that in the bonus materials, which then incentivizes my students to take the feedback form, because the bonus materials are now more robust. You can have a lot of material, just put a lot of it in the bonus section, but only teach the 3 things that are like the most important, and you'll find out over time what's most important to the students, and you'll emphasize those things. Okay? And so launch it ASAP, teach it, get feedback. The 3, if I were to summarize the entire course into 3 steps, that's it. Launch it ASAP, which I've taught you in session 2 how to do the entire launch plan, right? Simple, basic launch plan, but it really, really works. Launch it ASAP, teach it, get feedback, repeat this. I'm going to repeat this for the next 30, 40 years. That's what I'm doing. How about you? Okay? Every time you teach a course, you're repeating that cycle, right? So Linda, thank you for your question here. Live question says, do you update your replay? If I purchase this course again next year, will it be a different version? Well, thank you, Linda, for asking. Very kind of you to say that you're going to purchase it again next year, because some people go, George, will I get a free replay for the rest of my life? And when I used to sell this course for $1,000, yes, this course used to be $1,000. My prices have gone down a lot since then. But $1,000 came with like several months of, small group Q&A, that kind of, well, it wasn't small, it was like 300 people buying it at once, but it was group Q&A for like 6 months. So there's a reason why it was $1,000. But I used to promise people lifetime updates. I probably should go back to some of those $1,000 buyers and send them this one, actually, come to think of it. That's what years and years ago, like more than 5 years ago, that I sold it for that price. So I used to give lifetime updates, but at this rate, if it's under $100, you're not obligated to give a free update, honestly, really, honestly. I mean, if it's several $100s, maybe, but if it's under $100, you should just have them buy it again. I mean, if you only updated like one thing, like if out of 3 hours, the whole thing was only updated for 30 minutes, okay, maybe out of a courtesy and like, oh, wow, what a great gift. I got an update. I didn't expect it. But usually you just have them buy it again, or you buy it at an upgrade rate. So the course is $60, maybe they pay $20 for the upgrade, so something reasonable like that, rather than give it for free. Tamara says, isn't this like the paper airplane principle? Yes, Tamara knows my principles. And it's kind of like this idea of, imagine you're creating a paper airplane, and then you fly that paper airplane, and that paper airplane goes and the nose gets crinkled up, and you're like, oh my gosh, what do? Do you like quit and say, I'm never flying another paper airplane ever again? That was terrible. That should have been the perfect one. No, you pick up the paper airplane, you straighten out the nose, you say, well, it flew really to the left and then crashed, so maybe I should adjust the left wing a little bit more. Let's toss it now. Oh, this time it kind of flies slightly to the right. You kind of over adjust it. Oh, great. Now you just keep adjusting and flying the paper airplane. No big deal. Your courses are not exactly as inconsequential as a paper airplane, but I want you to think of it that way. In the lifetime of your business, it is a paper airplane. It is a paper airplane. You just keep on tossing it, adjusting the nose, adjusting the wings, adjusting the tail, and toss it again. The faster you do that cycle, the more you become like this amazing paper airplane, because you've adjusted for all the things that are aerodynamic. What about your courses? Are you launching it frequently enough? Okay. So one thing I'll say that I know I can improve on is, if I launched this same course, if I taught the same course 3 or 4 times a year, I would improve this course a lot faster than if I only taught it once a year. So unless you're like me and you already have 12 courses in mind, and you have to teach these 12 courses because you live as if you're dying, because I kind of live as if I'm dying, right? That's kind of what made me restart my business a few years ago, is this thought of what if I had 6 months left to live? So I live as if I'm dying. I'm like, I got to teach everything I know now, right? But if you're not as dramatic as me and you realize, hey, you know what? I'm going to get really good at this one topic. Just go ahead and teach it several times a year. You will grow a lot faster in that topic. Promise you, in terms of teaching it well. So the third principle, ignore perfectionism. Keep coming back to simplicity. Don't complicate it. What did you promise on your sales page? Number one. What's the simplest way for you to teach it to them? If you only gave them 3 key actions or homework, what must those 3 things be? If you just remember these things, you will teach a fine course, and it will get better and better over time. Okay, so let's talk about how to actually prepare the course materials. I'll give you 3 steps, right? Step 1, try to keep things simple here. Step 1, start your resource guide or course outline right away. I teach from the resource guide, as you probably know by now. And those of you who are here live, I'm just going to post a link for the resource guide in the chat if you want to follow along. But I would actually rather, and something I forgot to say at the beginning, as you are watching this session, listening to this session, I would love for you to actually chat below, comment below, anything I'm saying that's like of value to you, because that helps me to know what to emphasize in the future. But it also helps you, hopefully, to solidify that value a little bit more and to make an impact on others who are here and looking at the chats and the comments. So go ahead and chat below whenever you hear something. So don't get distracted by the document, please, because the document is there for you for later consumption. That's the intention of it. But start your own course outline right away in the beginning of preparing the course, and then just kind of build the course yourself in the course outline and teach it from there. That's the simplest way of doing it. You don't have to create slideshow. You don't have to create a slideshow. The only situation where I can see that a slideshow is necessary is if you really, really, really don't want to show your face on camera. If that's really the case, we hopefully I can convince you otherwise. I think some of you have heard this story. I'll say it real quick. My first online video was in 2009. First time I made a video online. My second online video was 4 years later. Why? Because I couldn't stand how I looked on camera. I'm like, you're ugly. You have no right. You have a face for radio, George. You have no reason and right. Don't cause other people pain being on camera. That's what I said to myself. Now, I was harsher with myself back then. I've grown a lot since then. Now I'm very calmly objective. And I said, yes, I do have a face for radio, but, or a face for podcasts. But, the more of course, the truth is the more I look at my own videos, the more comfortable I get with myself and how I look. That's honestly the first 10 times you see yourself on video, you're like, what the hell am I doing on video? I shouldn't be on video. But that's true for everybody. The first time you ever heard yourself on a voice recording, you're like, my voice sounds like that. Have you had that experience? Everybody is like that. But your voice is beautiful and your face is beautiful. For your audience who have seen multiple videos of you, you get more and more beautiful over the years, over time. That's just the reality. And then you yourself, of course, get more used to how you look on video. And now I think I look great on video. But it's because I got used to it. Just like with any friend, any close friend, maybe at first you're like, oh yeah, they look okay. But then, over the years, they turn out to be, wow, I really like how my friend looks, or how my spouse looks, or how, because you get used to them. That's how it is. And you get used to yourself. And when you get used to yourself, and when you get comfortable with yourself on video, you objectively probably look better because you're more comfortable, you smile more, or you're just more comfortable. You're less tense and anxious. It's just true. It's so please, everybody hates how they look the first time on camera, unless you are blessed with good looks to begin with. And if you're blessed with good looks to begin with, you probably are even harsher of a judge of yourself over the years, because people have commented on how good you look, and then you judge yourself harshly, right? So, but it's true. I really thought that of myself, and that's why I took 4 years before I got the courage to make the second video. It was because a friend kind of strong-armed me lovingly into making another video, and then I showed it to a small audience. And that's the secret to being comfortable on video, is show it to a small supportive audience first. Friends, a few clients, whatever it is. Let them praise you. Let them say it's fine. And then that gives you confidence to show it to a few more people and a few more people. And now you can't keep me off camera, to the world, right? So even though I no facial reconstruction surgery since 2009, I have more wrinkles. So I objectively probably don't look as good as I did 10 years ago, but I'm more comfortable, and that makes me more charismatic, right? Same with you. So start your resource guide. Step 1, I recommend Google Docs. You have already you've taken the course, you've seen my resource guide, and it's all in Google Docs. It's all automatically updated all the time. The version control is amazing. I should show you. You never have to worry about making a giant mistake. You took out an entire section. You're like, oh my God, I totally took out this entire section. You just click on File, you click on Version History, and see Version History, and every single edit you've made is all there. And they give you the major versions, and then if you click on this little drop-down menu, they give you all the tiny versions you've made, all the tiny edits it's all here. It's astonishing. So there's no, and you can restore any version that you want. I mean, I could go back and say, well, what did this look like back, 10 days ago? And it'll basically highlight for you. Sorry, I have to scroll down far enough. It'll highlight for you. Oh, I only added things. I didn't remove things, but it'll highlight for you what you changed. I've been fairly clean about how I put things into this document. I actually draft the resource document on a side document, on another document, and then copy and paste it into here. So that's why this version history is fairly clean. But, it's all in here. So you don't have to worry anytime about updates. Even if you temporarily lose internet connection, Google Docs is smart enough to save it locally. And then when you go online again, it'll sync. You don't even have to think about it. It's amazing. Okay, so step 1, start your resource document. I recommend Google Docs if you can. Step 2 is to outline what you want to cover in the course. And the simplest way of outlining is go to your sales page, the page where you sold them the course. Copy and paste what you promised to sell them, what you promised to teach them, right? What you sold them. Copy and paste those bullet points into your course outline. You see, simple. You are simply teaching what you told them you'll teach them. That's it. So copy and paste your sales page into your course outline and then just fill it out. That's step 3. Okay, fill it out. And of course, I have some details for you in the course outline. So be sure to read that. And at the very end of the course, I'll talk about what the next steps are to fully implement the course. And one of the next steps is you will need to carefully read. I recommend that you carefully read my course outline because there's a lot of nuances in there. And I encourage you to ask questions directly in the course outline. I'll show you how. Okay, so I have a whole series of questions to help you fill out your course outline. Okay, so if you look into in the resource document, preparing the course content, step 1, we talked about step 2, we've talked about step 3 a little bit here, and here are a bunch of questions you might want to ask for each main idea that you're teaching. So let's say, for example, if you went to the sales page for this course, that's how I started with, that's how I started really. I basically copy. You will be learning this. So I copied and pasted these points, right, into my initial course outline. And then I asked myself these questions. Okay, I asked myself these questions for each point. Okay, not every single question, I have to say, but even if I ask myself one question and it gave me some great material there, then that's all I need. So you don't have to ask yourself all these questions. That's the key. One or more of these questions. Okay, so I hope this is helpful. It'll be useful tool for you if you do this. Joselito asks, do you allow students to make changes to the resource document? Yes, I do. And in fact, I think it was session 1 or session 2 where I showed you all that it's possible, and I think some of you started to help me correct some of my typos in this document. So thank you. When you use a Google document, you click on Share, and then you click on, it's usually off. It usually says off. Only specific people can access, meaning you and anyone you you specifically add in here their email addresses. But I put it on anyone with the link can comment. That's the status. That's the change that I made to this feature here and under Share. Anyone with the link can comment is what I use, and then I copy the link and I share it with the students. So that way you can correct my typos, and you can also ask questions by basically highlighting any word you want, any idea you have a question for, you just highlight it in the document. You click on the plus icon on the right-hand side, and you type in your question, and I will respond to your question right there. And that makes the resource document more and more valuable over time because the Q&As are right in here. And next year, when I make the 2019 version of this course, I'm going to have a new resource document. This is going to be renamed 2018 resource. And in the new resource document, I will, of course, incorporate all the Q&A that happened in this document so that the resource document gets better and better every year, right? So that's pretty cool. So, okay, let's see here. Let's talk about timing the course. Pretty simple. I mean, I give you a whole checklist in the resource document 15 minutes before the course. It's important for you to prepare yourself so that you are more energized, you are more comfortable as you teach. And so I encourage you to do certain things like, well, check the thermostat, some things that we kind of take for granted and sometimes forget, and you get too hot. I prefer to keep things a bit cooler, the temperature wise, so that I don't look like I'm sweating, right? And I have a jacket here. If I need to put it on during the teaching of the course, it's right here. And that's fine to put it on. It's okay. I mean, people know you're a human being and you get cold. So I would rather keep things cold, colder, not cold, but just a little bit cooler. Use the restroom, blah, blah, blah. And check the camera. Is the lighting okay? Things like that, okay? Reboot your computer, plug it in. The internet, I prefer to plug the internet in whenever possible. Some of you have a laptop that only has a USB connection. So George, how do I plug in the thing to it? Get an adapter. There are adapters that will connect your Wi-Fi router cord to your USB to plug it in. So really, if you have a router, just try to be in the same room as the router and plug it in rather than try to do Wi-Fi. Of course, sometimes you can't help it. Like I'm here in my mom's house and I'm using Wi-Fi here. So hopefully the signal is good. Actually, she has faster internet than I do. So yeah, San Francisco has a very weird situation. San Francisco, the tech capital of the world, has not the best internet in the world. It's the weirdest thing. Anyway, and then, there's an important energetic component to preparing for the course. It's the physicals are important, get water, whatever. But before I start the course, I imagine my ideal student. Rather than imagining the students that are like this and like, prove to me that you know what you're talking about. It's not a good way to start the course. But that's how a lot of us do it, because that's how we've been trained, right? By the authority figures, like the person doing this, like, prove to me that you're good enough. No, someone bought your course, right? They're an ideal student. Like whatever you put on the sales page was good enough for them, and your web page looked good enough for them, and they're eagerly like, please, Liesl, just teach me, Tina, just whatever you want to say. I'm sure I'm going to get value from it. I'm just really looking forward to it. Amina, please grace me with just your presence. Just be here and just open your mouth, and I'm sure I'll get benefit from it. That's what your ideal student is saying, really. So you imagine them, and you imagine that no matter what mistakes you make and whatever, they're still going to say, wow, they're going to ignore the mistakes, and they're going to just think about the things that you said that have already been useful to them. So it's really important to have that energetic preparation, and just take a minute to do a meditation and just imagine them, or just even if you have a hard time visualizing, say it out loud to say, I'm imagining a student who just, however you need to do it, to imagine that person. And then you'll be in a much better place to say, great, now I can just go with gusto, be myself, be comfortable, and just open my mouth and let my genius channel through. Because your genius is going to happen best when you're comfortable and when you are feeling loved, not when you're anxious and tense. When you're relaxed, feeling confident, that's when your creativity and that's when your best self shines, right? So I have a link in here that I want to show you. It's in the timing of the course, 15 minutes before. By the way, the first couple times you do this, you probably should give yourself 30 minutes. 15 minutes is more than enough time for me now, but 30 minutes the first couple times you teach the course, to kind of reboot yourself, right? And to make sure the computer's rebooted too. That's important too. Reboot yourself. I've got a blog post on this. This is how I kind of do my energy reboot. But you may get something from it. You might have a totally different method, but you might be interested in how I do it. It might be, yeah. So check that out. Okay. So in terms of a 60-minute sample, okay, how do we time the course? It's very, very simple. The first 5 minutes. Okay. First of all, show up a couple minutes early, and show up 2 minutes early if you can. And ask the people before you start recording, okay, ask if, ask if the students that are present can hear you. If it's only one person, and just wait until one person shows up, okay? Even if the one person shows up a little bit late, you don't have to start literally on time. If you're waiting for, 10 people signed up and one person's there, just say, make conversation, until like 2 or 3 people show up. In terms of the show up rate, what should you expect? I don't think I mentioned that in this course. Basically, expect only between 20 to 50% of those who registered to show up. 10 people registered, 2 people show up, you can start. Okay, 3 people. Okay. If, however, you did it like the way I did it last year, where I require you to show up in order to even get the recording. That's what I did last year, all last year. That's how I taught it. 92% show up rate on average last year. Now I'm back down to like 40% show up rate, something like that. Yeah, something like 40%, 30 to 40% show up rate. When I give the recording, if you bought it, you get the recording, only 30 to 40% will show up. If maybe sometimes only 20%. So don't blame yourself. It's like so few people showing. That's normal, industry wide. Okay. So if you want people to show up, then you have to say, well, you'll get the recording if you show up and fill out the feedback form. That's what I told people, and people did it. And yes, I might have turned off a few people not buying it, but on the whole, people are like, okay, cool. Yeah, and the 8% who didn't show up, I refunded them because I'm like, no, I'm not going to give you the recording. As promised, I'm going to keep my promises. Otherwise, it doesn't work anymore, right? So show up a couple minutes early, ask if people can hear you, make some conversation until about 30% of the people are there. And then, adjust your camera. You might need to zoom in or whatever it is. And then start the recording. And then the first 5 minutes of the course, that was pre-course. Now, first 5 minutes, I'm asking the students to chat. Now, this is important. I learned from a elementary school teacher a long time ago, and I think this is still quite applicable. The sooner you get the student to talk during the course, the more likely they will be engaged the rest of the hour. Elementary school teacher taught me that. So the way that she would start is to say, "Hi, students. Can you tell me what your favorite color is?" "Oh, red." "Oh, green." Or whatever it is. However, she needed to. Ideally, asking a question that's related to the course, but getting the students talking sooner makes them pay attention because now they're part of it. Now they're part of it. So that's why I'm asking. That's why I notice I always ask you to keep chatting. Start chatting immediately. Tell me something. Say one word. And then you'll be more paying attention the whole time. And of course, occasionally I read out some of the chats, and I encourage you to keep chatting. When I'm good, I keep reminding people to chat. So let's see here. Tamara says, let's see. If you were not using Facebook, how do you let people link to? Okay, great question. We're definitely going to cover that when we talk about how do we host and the technology things about that. So. Joselito says, how come you changed your policy and you're not requiring people to attend to get the replays this year? It's a great question. I think it's because I feel like I got enough feedback last year, because I basically taught these kinds of courses, the same courses I'm teaching this year, I taught last year as well. And the reason I required people to attend and to fill out the feedback form before they got the recording is because I needed a lot of feedback about how things were going. And so I did that for the first year. And now I feel like I got enough feedback. Of course, I still want your feedback. But now I wanted to, my priority this year was actually to increase the sales of the course. So I kind of made it easier for people just to buy it. Hey, just to buy it. Don't sweat over the time zone thing. Last year, what I did was I actually taught every course at 2 time zones. And I only taught the course as a 2-hour single session course. Not like 3 sessions like we do now. Last year was only 1 session for 2 hours. And I overwhelmed people like crazy, right? In those 2 hours. And that's why now I'm only doing 1 hour times 3 sessions. Much more palatable, much more doable. But with 3 sessions, it's harder to require people to attend all 3. I think maybe I could require people to attend 1. That might be a good idea. But last year I made it more easy for people to attend because I taught that singles 2 hours in 2 time zones. 1 week was at 9 a.m. Pacific. The next week was at 5 p.m. Pacific. 8 hours apart, the same exact course, so that people in different time zones can take it at whatever time. Now, the reason I was able to do that because I have a large enough audience where I at least get usually a couple dozen sales at even the 5 p.m. Pacific, which is usually the worst time. But the 9 a.m. Pacific is a much better time for most course buyers, I've known, for my audience anyway. But 5 p.m. is good for Australia, for Asia. But that for English speaking, there's far more people at 9 a.m. Pacific because it's North America and Europe, and the 5 p.m. Pacific is only for Asia, those who are English speaking in Asia, and then Australia, New Zealand, right? So, and I guess for people who work all day and I can only do this stuff in the evening in North America. Okay, so so to increase the course sales and to kind of make the logistics easier, I just said, what, heck, sign up, you'll get the recording even if you don't attend. Melanie says, okay, great. So those questions I'll definitely cover as well. And okay, so first 5 minutes, get people to start chatting, talk about the chat etiquette, meaning, hey, don't worry, the chat can go fast. Don't worry about reading the chat, but I do want you to chat ideas as you hear them. Anything that's interesting, mention a few words, just a few words. Hey, this was helpful. This was useful. That was interesting. Or here's a question. Put that in the chat. So that's first 5 minutes. The second 5 minutes is sort of a introduction of the course material itself and of yourself. The first time you teach it, the first session, introduce yourself or have your host introduce you. But talk about, hey, today what we're going to learn is we're going to learn how to do this. You're going to learn the important concept of that. And by the end of the course, you'll be able to do this thing, which I'm really looking forward to seeing you be able to do, So that's the next, that's the next 5 minutes. So we've got 5 minutes of logistics, 5 minutes of intro. These are approximate times. Sometimes it takes you less time, but approximately. And then 45 minutes of the actual course material. Okay, so basically break up your course outline in your own mind, or literally maybe on the course outline if it's convenient enough, into 3 sections, approximately 15 minutes per section. Now, you're not going to be perfect in following it. I'm not usually perfect in following the 15-minute rule, but basically 15 minutes per section of your course outline for that session. Simple. And for each section, okay, try to take 1 or 2 questions from the students. And if there's no questions, you pause. Say, hey, before we move on to the next section, do you have any questions? Pause for 15 seconds. Introverts need that. And there will be a lot of introverts in your audience. 15 seconds. Okay? Any questions? And I'm going to tell you how 15 seconds feel like. So, anybody has any questions before I move on? And you can look around, of course. Don't have to look at the camera the whole time. Okay. So if there are no questions, you see it long enough where you feel like even the person who's shy about it might raise their hand, or you might actually say, hey, feel free just to raise your hand. We're a small group here. If it's a small group, or just raise your hand. I'll be able and put your Zoom on gallery view so that you can see everyone and see if people are raising their hand or not. Okay. So okay. So final 5 minutes is the ending, which is basically a 1-minute summary of today's session. So today, what we learned was how to prepare the course material, how to time your course, and what are the key technical hardware, software things to really consider using. I hope you found this course useful today. That was less than 30 seconds. You see, quick summary. And then requesting feedback says, hey, here's the feedback form. I'd love for you to fill it out so that I can make the next session even more useful for you, and I can see what kind of questions you have, etc. So thank you for that. And so that's the ending time and summarize what the homework is and what you're going to cover next time. Okay, next time we're going to do this kind of a preview of coming attractions. Now, one of the questions that was asked in the last session to me was what about intimate student sharing? Let's say you're teaching a topic and you're asking students to share their fears or something that's vulnerable for them. Well, how do you handle that in terms of the recording? Because other people buying it, right? I recommend, if that's the case, you do separate out your course into 2 segments each session. Each session you lecture and you have some public questions, public consumable questions. Hey, you tell the students in advance. It's like, hey, I'm going to record the first part of this hour, and during that recording is going to be bought by other course buyers in the future. So just know that there might be a lot of people watching this in the future. So during any questions you have for me during the first part, just make sure it's for public consumption. And then the last 15 minutes, we will dive into some of the more intimate, vulnerable parts of this. And you can ask your questions without being recorded at that point. So just tell people that. Or if you want to keep it really super simple, just say, hey, we've got we've got, 4 sessions in this entire course. We're going to have a lecture. We're going to have a Q&A, intimate group sharing, another lecture, and another intimate group sharing. 4 sessions. Very simple. And those 2 sessions that are recorded are what you sell later. And every time you sell it, in fact, launch it, you could include additional intimate Q&A sessions, right? If you wanted to do that like 4 times a year, something like that. Okay, so let's talk about the tech tools. And the tech tools, I've already outlined them for you right in the course outline, of course. So they're all here. I wanted to show you, be sure you look at this link. This, of course, I use Zoom. As those of you who are live know, I use Zoom. And I have a half-hour tutorial on how to use Zoom, including even breakout groups if you wanted to do that. But I don't do breakout groups in this course. But click on this link, click on it again if you need to. And I just want to show you, this is my most popular video by far, at over 100,000 views. I guess a lot of people want to know how to use Zoom. So most of my videos are like a couple dozen views. Okay, so 100,000 views, dramatically different. But I want to show you in this video, if you scroll down, okay, here, check this out. Scroll down, click on Show More. Check this out. I have timestamps for exactly what I cover in the half-hour tutorial. And you can click on any timestamp to jump directly. It's the reason why it's blue is because it's linked to that exact moment in the video. You click on this, for example, click on it, and it jumps right to that moment in the video. So it's a really useful tutorial. And that may be also why it has 100,000 views, because it's so useful. Okay. So see other technologies. So basically that half-hour tutorial will teach you everything about the Zoom and the technology of that. The important part, of course, is to practice before you actually teach it as a paid course. If you've never used Zoom before, please don't make it the first time you do it. So gather a couple of peers in this group together and practice Zoom together, or gather a couple of your friends and say, hey, do you guys have like 10 minutes? Can I just practice my Zoom? Here's the link, all that stuff. Okay. In terms of where to host, how do you get the links to your students? Okay. I use YouTube, as you know, to host my videos, and I will show you how I upload that. So basically go, and I didn't actually do that. I go to youtube.com/upload. Okay. youtube.com/upload. And then instead of public, this is important. So you click this big white arrow to find a file on your computer to upload the video file. But before you do that, please click on this public thing, which is by default, and click unlisted. Unlisted. I don't recommend private. What private means is that you have to literally put in every email address you want to share this course with, and that email address has to be connected to the student's YouTube account, and they have to log in. It's really complicated. I mean, not really, but you're going to have to deal with a lot of customer service issues by doing private. So I just recommend unlisted. Unlisted means that nobody can find it on the internet. They cannot find it on YouTube unless they have the exact video link, or unless your students share it forward with their friends and their colleagues, which most people won't. And I know a lot of you are concerned about that. 95, probably 97% of the students that I've taught that, just say, hey, this is a private link, please don't share it. If you want anyone to watch the course, please have them buy it here. I just put that in the follow-up email. All of you have gotten my follow-up email because you've gotten the recordings of this course. So look at my follow-up email and see how I do it. And you can use whatever language you want for my emails. For my reminder emails, you can use my language, and the follow-up emails, save those and use that if you wish to, and improve upon it, of course, for yourself. Just about nobody shares it. Because if I look at my videos, I can look at my video stats for all. I've taught so many courses now, None of my courses have gone viral, okay? None of the courses have gotten thousands of views, which means I know that nobody's sharing it. Nobody's sharing it. Most of the courses have only a couple dozen views, and I had a couple dozen students who bought it. So relax. Nobody's going to do it. Nobody's going to pirate your course. And actually, it's kind of a flattery if someone does pirate it and share it forward, because now your material is reaching a lot more people. You would actually rather have your material reach a lot more people because people will want to work with you one-to-one, or join your group programs, or buy more courses from you. They'll feel guilty and they'll want to buy more. Don't worry about piracy, people. Don't worry about it. Let that go. That negative energy is just holding your creativity back. Really. I haven't worried about it for years, and I've been more creative than ever. Right? Yeah, and Amina's asking a good question. Well, isn't it unfair to the people who pay for the course? None of you have complained. I've sold 1,000 courses, over the past 2 years. Not one person. And that's a really legitimate question, because I get this question a lot. Not one person has said, George, I don't like that you use YouTube Unlisted. I feel like I could just get the link from a friend. Not one. Now, maybe a few people have thought that in their head, but people are still buying. So, and my course stats, I could see the video stats. They're not going wild. They're just staying at a couple dozen, maybe over 100 in some courses because that course was popular. But that's it. That's it. So, thank you. Sandy Freshy wrote that you can actually see in your YouTube analytics if the recording has been shared. I didn't know that. Yes, that's actually true. I have seen that in the analytics in that section. So you're right. Go to YouTube analytics and go to that video, the analytics for that video, and you'll be able to see if that video has been shared. And, I would say, again, just relax. I mean, that's a backup plan, but relax. If you start policing that stuff, it eats away at your creativity. That's what I've noticed. Because it creates fear, and it creates like tightness and constriction. Okay, Tamara says, my new Mac doesn't want to convert Zoom files to MP3. Oh yeah, it's not just your Mac. That's just how it turns out. M4A, I forgot what the video formats are, but the video format uploads to YouTube just fine. And the audio format can upload to Google Drive just fine. And if you send people the Google Drive link for the audio, they'll be able to listen it right in Google Drive, no problem. So yeah, don't worry about the MP3. Okay, so Jean says, if someone buys my book, I don't have control if they share it. It's the same. Yeah, exactly. Well, with electronic books, Kindle books, it's harder to share forward. But yeah, you buy one book, put it, all your neighbors read it, right? It's the same idea. But really, remember this. The benefit you're going to get in your business from having more people consume your course is far greater than the danger of having a few people gotten it for free. So, okay. Here in this document, I give you my entire registration system, step by step. Setting up PayPal. I've given you a link right to how to set up a PayPal button. You click on that link, you set up a PayPal button right there. I use the Buy Now button, which is for a single purchase. It's Buy Now. I recommend that. You embed the PayPal button on your sales page. That's a little bit for your web person to do, or if you're web tech savvy, you get the code from the PayPal button. You just copy the code, paste it onto your website for the HTML code. You create a group within, I'm assuming you use MailChimp. Some of you use different things. That's fine. But what I do is I create a group I create a MailChimp list called, course participants. And then within the MailChimp list called course participants, I have groups within that MailChimp list. It's called creating a group. If you don't know how, click on this link. I give you links for all the help stuff, okay? How do you create a group within a list? Here's how, right? So create a group within the list for that particular course. I create a MailChimp automation. It's not that complicated. It just sounds complicated, but it's not. Click on this. It gives you an article on how to do it, okay? And even a video on how to do it. You just create an email that basically when people get added to the group, they're automatically sent the email that has the access information for the course. I give you a sample access email that you can feel free to copy. That's the access email for this very course. Okay, so you can feel free to don't share the links, of course, but copy the formatting of it, any language you want to copy, of course. Okay, schedule one or more email reminders. I get usually okay. I would recommend this as the general rule. Do a 24-hour reminder and a 1-hour reminder. I am probably pathologically minimalistic in how many emails I send, because all of you tell me you want more emails from me. I've never heard anyone say, George, you send me too many emails. All of you say, George, I want you to send me more reminder emails. But I'm not doing it just because I think I'm overcompensating for my marketing days, my internet spammy marketer days. And I'm just like, oh, I want to send the fewest emails for the rest of my life. So that's why I only send one reminder email. It's a 4-hour reminder. And here's the exact email. You can click on this example to see how I do that. Oh, Kate, thank you for your question. You don't use Acuity for emails anymore? Great question. In the bonus document, you will see my tips for using Acuity. I don't use Acuity anymore for my classes. I would use Acuity. If you want to keep things simple, use Acuity. Also, if you want to make sure people attend, Acuity is better because it kind of it makes people check their time zone. It sends them a link to add it to their calendar. So Acuity is better if you want people to attend. But if you're in my situation, you want more sales, and you just make it easier for people to buy. They don't have to. There's no hassle in buying just using a PayPal link. So that's why I'm doing it this way now. But you're right. You're right. Okay. Tamara says the drawbacks of PayPal versus Stripe versus WeTransfer. Yeah. Stripe is great, except that it's not that easy to implement technologically. I haven't bothered to learn it. It's harder than PayPal to implement. So that's why I haven't. It's not rocket science. I'm sure you can learn it, but I just haven't bothered. I think PayPal's so easy, and everybody has PayPal. Just about. Amina says PayPal commission fees. Count it. My recommendation: just count it as a business expense. It's basically up to 5%. Don't sweat over it. I mean, you will make a lot more money selling courses using a system that people find easy than to worry about the PayPal fees. Let's see here. Yeah, Tamara says PayPal is converting dollars and euros to my main currency, pounds, without my permission. It might be if payment is made by email. They changed it several months ago. They charge high fees for transactions. Well, poor exchange rate. That may be the case. I just think in that whole balance of things, yes, if you find a system that's easy for your students, by all means use it. I just haven't found a system that's easy, even for international. I haven't. But please, if you find a system that's easy, I'll probably switch to it. Okay. So I just say, you know what, fine, 5 or 10%. But you're going to make more sales making it easy for your students. That's the key. That's the key. Tamara says, I lost $80 on payment. I'm not sure what's happening there. It might be a really unique situation because I haven't had that kind of penalty. I've been using PayPal for years, but it might be, we might need to take this offline. Yeah, it might be a new situation. I haven't experienced it because I have buyers all around the world right now, so it should be fine. Okay, so here's the part where that's a little bit complicated here. I use Zapier to make it even more automated. Zapier is a powerful software tool that can basically replace virtual assistants in a lot of ways. It's kind of scary, right? In that regard, but it can connect all of these apps and more. It's astounding. So whatever you want to do in this app, that automatically gets done in that app, and the information gets transferred from this one to that one, instantly streamlined. It can be done through Zapier. Now I pay $15 a month for Zapier to do some things, but it saves me hundreds of dollars a month in virtual assistant fees. Totally worth it, right? In terms of cost benefit analysis. So basically I use Zapier to connect PayPal and MailChimp. And I give you the step-by-step process of how I do that here. So I'm not going to go over that right now because some of you aren't going to do this. But here's all the steps laid out, okay? All right, in terms of the hardware, I am going to go show you this document right here, video resource recommendations, and I give you the hardware right here. Okay, video camera, ignore this part. This is like for my older videos where I was like walking around and making business tip videos. Now what I do is I use Logitech C930E from $80 from Amazon, and this is what you're seeing from me right here. This is it. In terms of my microphone, you can tell that I'm attached to this microphone right here. It hooks into my computer. This is the earphones that come with an iPhone or an iPad. It comes with it. Or if it doesn't come with yours or you don't have it anymore, just buy it from Apple. I think it's $40 or $50 or $80. Anyway, it's worth it. I have tested multiple mics, including Blue Yeti, the Yeti mic, the one that's huge and looks super professional. This sounds better. Apple, now don't buy the knockoffs that made in China and made it look like they're actually, well, every Apple product's made in China, but don't buy the knockoffs for like $10 or $20. You will find them on Amazon and eBay. Don't. Go right to apple.com and buy the expensive ones right from Apple. The microphone, I promise you, is different. It's super high quality. I have bought other lapel mics on Amazon, the ones that clip right here. Try different things. Try the best-selling headset, Logitech headset from Amazon that was like $40 or whatever. This is still better. I don't know why. So there you go. I've hopefully saved you some research and yeah, it's basically, if you just go to apple.com and look for the wired ones. Don't get the wireless ones because the sound isn't as good. Get the wired ones. Sounds much better. Okay. Final thing. Final thing I want to say here is teaching tips. In terms of actually teaching your course, okay, a couple things. Just follow your outline. Don't complicate it for yourself. You've already written it. You can share it with your students. Just talk through it. You don't have to talk every point. That's the other thing. You don't have to mention. Notice I've skipped a bunch of things in the resource guide because, well, I'm out of time. And I trust that if you have questions, you'll ask right in the guide. But I kind of cover the highlights and the most important things. Okay. Really important. Look at the camera lens. Notice this. I am now looking, it looks like I'm looking at you, right? I'm not looking at you, and I'm not looking at me on the screen. I'm looking at the lens of the camera, which is, it takes getting used to. I'm looking at myself in the peripheral vision. I'm looking at you in my peripheral vision, the lower peripheral vision, but directly I'm looking at the camera lens because then it makes it look like I'm connected to you. Watch this. I'm going to now shift my eyes to looking at myself on camera, on the screen. You see? I don't look like I'm looking at you anymore, but I'm looking at myself on the screen. That's the mistake that most people make when they make videos is they like looking. I mean, it's normal. I used to do the same thing. We like looking at ourselves because, well, we don't want to look weird or whatever, right? So we like to look at ourselves, but you got to practice looking at the lens and not really seeing yourself. Okay? Imagine that your ideal student, their eyes, their soul, their heart is right in the lens, and you're talking to them right there. That's what I invite you to practice. Okay. This is for Facebook Live as well, video, we need to make a video. So, okay. And then in terms of being an engaging speaker, there's one word for this: dynamism, variation. If I'm going to talk through the course outline now, and step one, you do this, and step two, you do that, and you would have fallen asleep at 5 minutes in. But notice, sometimes I emphasize, and sometimes I just want to make sure you hear me as a whisper. That's a variation. That's a variation. Try to do that. So in other words, be more dramatic than you would be with a friend, than you would be with an in-person client. Your in-person client or your in-person friend would think that you're on, whatever drug it is, okay? But the video viewer thanks you for being dramatic. Or some of you this is not your style for doing this kind of thing, but for some of you, your style is basically from middle to soft, but just that variation. is very helpful to keep people awake so that they will pay attention. And then you could speak your normal voice again. You don't have to be dramatic to be interesting. See? And sometimes you could talk a little bit faster, even with a small voice, and it makes it interesting. And sometimes you slow down to emphasize a point. And sometimes you pause. Because if it's just continuous speed, that makes people fall asleep. So sometimes you pause, especially before or after an important point. Okay? And the last thing about being an engaging speaker is, now that you've gotten some of these tips, watch how other people are doing it engagingly or boringly. Watch and notice and ask, how am I doing that? Or how can I learn to do that better? Okay. And Tamara says, don't use too many hand gestures. Well, yeah, I guess that's probably true. But do use some, right? Okay. So the follow-up after the course, basically, I don't think I do enough follow-up. I'll be honest with you. So what you get from me is you get a replay email. Maybe you get another email saying, hey, if you haven't filled out the feedback form, here it is again, and here's the replay if you missed that. But I recommend sending another email or two beyond what I send. And what you might want to send is, how is it going with the course? Do you have any questions? And maybe another email would be invitation for them to talk with you one-to-one on a complimentary call. Or if you're looking for what is the next course that would be a good fit after this, I recommend this one. Okay, so in each of those emails, you may also want to include the replay links in the previous ones so that they don't have to look for it in a separate email. Okay, finally, we're here at the final couple minutes of the course. So feedback form. Okay, so step one, this is the sort of, what do you do now that you've watched the whole thing, right? Step one, fill out the feedback form, please. Okay, super appreciated. Now that you've watched everything, you have some responses and reactions that are super valuable for me. Even if your reaction is keep it up, okay? But it's super helpful for teachers to know what the students, how the students are reacting. Otherwise, it's in your head. I can't access your head unless you type a few words for me. So please click on the feedback form. Those of you who are live, you click on it now so that it's open for you in a different tab. I appreciate that. And then fill it out sometime in the next few hours if you can, because that way things are still fresh for you. Step two, carefully read the entire course outline. Okay? Carefully read the whole course outline from the beginning. So just go to the very beginning and just start over, because now that you've watched the whole thing, you have more context for using some of these principles and some of these tactics. Okay? So just kind of read through everything, make sure you understand. If you don't understand something, please, highlight it. If you don't understand a phrase or an idea, highlight it, or just have a related question. Highlight a word or a phrase and click on the plus icon and ask me the question right there. It'll say your name, not mine, of course. Okay? All right. So what is the next step after this? Step three is okay. The best time to be researching your course material is not right before you're going to teach it. Because the danger there is you're going to go, oh my God, oh, I didn't know that. I should do more research. That is a bad time. The best time to do your research is now, or any time. You just don't even try. Just as you read, as you watch things in your field, make sure you have your course outline handy, or bookmark your course outline. Okay, that's important. Bookmark it. So you can easily go in and add stuff to your course outline as you go about your daily stuff. This is what I do. every time I learn something new about Facebook that's important, I go into my Facebook course outline and I add it to there so that the next time I teach it, I'll make sure I talk about that. Okay, so that's the idea. And finally, you might want to make a plan. Just put it on your to-do list to return to this document at some point. It doesn't have to be every 3 months, but 6 months from now, return to this document, read it again, and see if you want to implement something new, some additional step that will help you become more effective as a teacher, as a course marketer as well. Okay? And finally, if you are interested in my other courses, here they are. Here are all the links here. If you want to get more clients, here's a great link for you. This is, I think, a pretty good course, honestly. So that one, I would recommend it if you don't have a full practice yet and you would like one. If you want to learn Facebook ads, I talk about it all day long. This is the course for you right there. And if you want to get into the rhythm of content and kind of be inspired to do that again, or to find for the first time the rhythm of content creation, that's the course for you. In terms of this one, this is how I manage my time, how I manage myself in time. That's one if you're interested there. And then the resonant marketing is if you're trying to sell stuff and it's not, people aren't buying. Why aren't people buying? This course answers that question and gives you the exercises to solve that problem. Why aren't people buying from me? Okay, so that's the one, resonant marketing. So with that, I want to thank you for being part of this course series, and I hope you got at least 3 things from this series that you're going to use, that's going to change the course of your courses. Okay, I couldn't help it. I'm sorry. So any questions you have along the way, please put it right into the resource document as a comment. Highlight a word or phrase, click on the plus button and ask. If you don't know how to do that, just comment below the video. Okay, put a comment underneath the video of the course, and I will do my best to respond to you usually within 1 business day, sometimes 2 or 3 business days. Okay, so the most important thing is that the learning starts now. As you implement the course, as you try to launch as soon as possible, you're going to find out, oh, I realize that this part is missing for me, or you're gonna have the real learning happen now. So thank you for being part of this, and look forward to your questions and your updates as you find success in teaching and marketing courses. I would love to know. It would be such the greatest reward for the teacher is to know that they are making a difference. So keep me updated. All right, everybody, have a great rest of your day. I'll just unmute so that those who are watching the video can hear your voice. And thanks again.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good rest of the day.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.